So I am a natal Capricorn moon, but I feel like one of the questions this uh, new moon in Capricorn is asking, the last, by the way, that we're having while Saturn is in Pisces, what are your hands for? Seriously, what are your hands for? Figuratively and literally, what are your hands for? What kind of labor are you engaged in? What's the aim and who is it for? Because a lot of people think they work very hard, but because it's not in service of one of their actual goals, they're not actually working hard. They're having their energy harnessed by someone else's goal, and they're working very hard for them, but they're not actually working hard for themselves. And you have to, I know it's sometimes hard to conceptualize when you're deep in it, but you have to come out of survival-based thinking to see that clearly. So I think one of the big questions for this moon is what are your hands doing and who is it for? I think I've told you my family was always my final boss. Like, my family was always my final boss. I knew that if I could eliminate my participation in some of the dysfunctional dynamics of my family, then I would be golden. I would be golden. That's not to blame them. I chose them. I incarnated into my family. I chose them. And they're not bad people. Well, some of them are, but they're not bad people across the board. But there are some dynamics that I just know that in my lifetime I cannot and will not participate in. So with my family being my final boss, or previously having been my final boss, there was so much performance for belonging. And one of the things that you had to perform was excessive labor, was exhaustion. You had to perform femininity in certain ways. Like, I'm not the woman who is going to cook and clean every day. I'm not. Strangely enough, there are things that I love cleaning. Strangely enough, I love to cook. Am I going to do it like I'm clocking in, day out? No. And I like to eat really healthfully. So that usually means I have to prepare my own meals in a very specific way. And that matters to me. But to say that I'm going to be roped into a day in, day out domestic role in that way, that was never my ministry. My hands are for other things. My gifts are for other things. And I had to get really, really comfortable with that, because you can be shamed for not wanting to cook and clean all day, even though I guarantee you, most of these women do not want to be cooking and cleaning all day. There are other things you can do with your time. But because you're in survival mode, whether literally or by culture, people don't make that choice. It's only recently become acceptable to be a woman who's not performing domestic drudgery every day for your woman card. And it's interesting because I will watch some women discount my womanhood or my femininity because I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. What are my hands for? And it's not a flex. It's not me looking down, because I think domestic labor is highly valuable. It's undervalued. Domestic labor is highly valued and undervaluable, and it's skilled work. So it should be heavily compensated. And not everybody can do it. Not everybody wants to do it. So I value it a lot. But however, it's not where my gifts lie, and it's not where I want to use my talents. So when I'm running a very successful business, and I don't want that, you have to be very careful about this point, because there's this kind of warped version of feminism that is actually quite misogynistic, that can sometimes take over when you get into girl boss territory. I'm not cooking and cleaning because I run a business, so I'm more important that's more important for me than blah, blah, blah. It gets capitalistic, it gets whatever. My business revolves around my spiritual gifts, revolves around my education, revolves around things that heal people. And I have changed the trajectory of people's lives, and I've changed the trajectory of people's families' lives. And I've done this literally hundreds of times in a handful of years. So there's other things that I'm doing with my gifts. So when you're using your energy in that way, it is not always smart to be cooking and cleaning all the time. You have to be discerning about where you use your hands, how you use your hands, literally and figuratively. So if I'm going to spend all day writing, because I'll script by hand, if I'm going to spend all day writing a new neurointuitive track, or if I'm going to spend all day designing an experience for my clients, I'm not going to then run around my house looking for stuff to clean. And part of being good to myself and part of being fair to myself has been acknowledging this as truth. I see no value in doing it all the time. I don't. She's Superwoman. She holds down the house and she works a full-time job. Baby, you're a victim. Unless that's what you want to be doing. I don't know. But to me, it sounds like, wow, I wonder what gifts that this woman has that she may not be able to focus on because her time is so dominated. And that's another thing I want to talk to you about. Dominated, domination, domesticated, domestic, same roots. So domus is the home. Dominus is the lord of the home. There's also an equivalent title, domina, from, it's, Latin, but not necessarily the same privileges as dominus, right? So domesticating a woman, you give her a lord and master. If you are your own lord and master, fabulous. Do everything you want to do in your life and for yourself. I know myself to be obviously guided by spirit, but an autonomous being. I will not be submitting to a lord and master. That's not on my agenda. So what are your hands for and what are they doing? If you are having labor extracted from you in service of everybody else's goals, if everybody gets more pleasure out of you than you do, you need to switch that around. That is a big question for the new moon. I think Capricorn is, when we're going into Western astrology, aka Greek astrology, Greek and Roman astrology, pardon me, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is like the toxic patriarch, can be. So what happens there is that people can forget the emotional nature of the sign. People can forget I'm a Capricorn moon, by the way, which is, people tell you it's scary, but it's in the house of the goddess, so I'm not worried. But people can forget the sensual nature of the sign. People can forget the playfulness. Like Saturn was a horrible dad to his kids, but humans were experiencing a golden age on Earth when he ruled. So there is something to us having our own discipline, but Saturn is very much like, okay, where are the rules? What are the rules? And how can we navigate it? I have my own thoughts and opinions about any structure that I encounter. And rather than solely being adversarial, I cannot like a structure, but you can sure as hell bet that I am going to figure out how to navigate it. There is no value in not building those skills. Structure might be collapsing, but for now it's here. Figure it out. So, who and what are you working for? And if the answer isn't you, and I'm not talking about entrepreneurship, because again, not everybody's gifts lie in entrepreneurship, but you should have so much more of your energy devoted to your life and well-being than you're probably devoting right now. And if you are already in a space, as I know most of my collective is, where you take this quite seriously, use this new moon as an opportunity to recommit. Because we have to do that. We have to renew our commitments. Saturn also is about commitment, can be about commitment. We have to renew our commitments. Decisions that we make remain decisions by our belief and by our practices and by how we pour into those decisions. You have to renew it. So that's a little ramble, probably story time. But yeah, as I was saying in my last video, between Jesus and slavery, and also my own previous labor, I'm all paid up. I'm not laboring to prove anything to anyone. Just not a good use of my life force. Not even me. I no longer require proof of my brilliance. I practice. I do things. I enjoy my own talents. I get a lot of pleasure out of me. It's not something that you have to earn, but through the process of earning it, it's sometimes how people break through that wall. And I can tell you, where there's a wall, you can always build a door. You know, I always love the subconscious. That's the door. Or you can bash through it. Some people choose to bash through it. It took me 30 years in the gulag to realize that I'm valuable and I do belong and I can do and I can have and I can be and I can, okay. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's how you got there. At least you got there. That's how I feel about a lot of things. Anyway, good chat. Happy new moon in Capricorn.